I read a lot of stories for this channel, and most of them start the same way. This probably sounds crazy, but I swear it happened. Tonight is no different. Because there's something about rideshare apps that makes fear feel possible. You're stepping into a stranger's car, or a stranger is stepping into yours, and for a while you're both trapped in the same moving box of glass and metal, cutting through dark streets where nobody can hear you if you scream. These are 3 stories people sent in. They all claim they're true. And whether you believe them or not, just remember this the next time you request a ride late at night. Your driver's name is only a name. Your passenger's face is only a face. And the app doesn't tell you the whole story. I used to think I was careful. I was the kind of person who triple-checked the license plate, who kept my keys between my fingers when I walked at night, who never got into a car without looking into the back seat first. That night, I did everything right. And I still almost didn't make it home. It happened on a Friday in late fall. The kind of cold where the air tastes sharp, and your breath comes out in small white bursts. I'd been out with coworkers downtown. Nothing wild, just a bar, 1 drink too many, loud laughter that didn't feel as funny once you stepped outside and the street got quiet again. I remember standing under a street lamp, my phone bright in my hand, waiting for my Uber. The app said he was 2 minutes away. His name was Eli. A gray Honda Accord. Plate ending in 7K2. I told my coworkers I was good, waved, and watched them scatter to their own rides. Then it was just me, alone at the curb, the city noises fading into that late-night hum, distant music, an occasional car, the wind dragging wrappers across the sidewalk. A gray sedan turned the corner and rolled up to the curb. My first instinct was relief. I looked at the plate. 7K2. Perfect. The driver leaned across the seat and pressed the unlock button. The doors clicked. He didn't look like an Eli. Not that I knew what an Eli was supposed to look like, but this guy was older than I expected, maybe late 40s, early 50s. Dark hair with gray at the temples. Heavy eyelids like he hadn't slept in days. Still, people don't always match your expectations. Maybe the photo on the app was old. Maybe he used his middle name. Maybe it was his dad's account. Stuff like that happens. I opened the back door and slid in. The car smelled like cheap cologne and something sour underneath, like old sweat trapped in fabric. "Hey," I said, trying to sound normal. 4. Before I could say my name, the driver pulled away from the curb. "No." "Hi." "No." "How are you?" Not even that fake rideshare cheer. He just drove. At first I told myself he was tired. Maybe he'd had a long shift. Maybe he didn't like talking. But then I noticed something small that turned into something huge. His phone wasn't mounted. Most drivers have their phone on a mount, dashboard, windshield, somewhere they can see the map. But his dash was empty. No glowing screen. No little blue line telling him where to go. I leaned forward slightly and looked at the center console. There was a phone there, face down. Not lit up. Not showing directions. My stomach did a slow, sick flip. Maybe he knew the way, I told myself. My apartment wasn't far. Lots of drivers in the area had the routes memorized. Still, why not check the map? We hit the first light. Red. He stopped, drumming his fingers on the steering wheel like he was impatient. I glanced at his rearview mirror. His eyes met mine. And he smiled. It wasn't friendly. It was quick. Like he was pleased I'd noticed him looking. A little shiver ran across my skin, and it wasn't from the cold anymore. I pulled up the app and glanced at the driver icon. Eli was still 2 minutes away. My heart hammered so hard it felt loud. I refreshed it. Same thing. The car I was in was not my Uber. But the plate matched. That was the part that made my blood run cold. Because it meant somebody either copied the plate or stole it. Either way, it wasn't a mistake. My fingers went numb around the phone. I looked at the driver's hands on the wheel. They were big, with short nails. On his right hand, the knuckle of his index finger had a pale scar, like it had been split open and healed wrong. The app chimed. Your driver Eli has arrived. A second gray Honda Accord pulled up behind us in the mirror, flashing its lights like, "Hey, where are you?" I couldn't breathe. I just stared, stuck in a frozen panic. The driver's smile widened as if he could feel my fear. He reached up and locked the doors. It was a soft click, but it hit me like a gunshot. "Hey," I said, my voice cracking. I think you've got the wrong." He didn't answer. He turned at the next corner, away from the main street, away from the lights, into a darker stretch where the buildings were low and closed, where the sidewalks were empty. My mouth went dry. I grabbed the door handle and pulled. Locked. I tried the other one. Locked. I started to shake, and I hated myself for it. Hated the way my body was betraying me by going weak when I needed to be smart. "Stop the car," I said louder. "Please stop." He glanced at the mirror again. And then, finally, he spoke. "You're not supposed to be alone," he said. His voice was calm. Like he was commenting on the weather. "What?" I whispered. "You shouldn't be alone out here," he repeated. "Bad things happen." I swallowed, forcing my brain to work. My phone. I could call 911. I could scream. I could hit him. I could. I looked down. No service. The bar area had service. But now the little bars were gone. Like we dipped into some dead pocket of the city. I'd never even known this part had dead zones. He turned again, onto a street that looked like a service road. Industrial. Dark. A chain-link fence ran along one side, and on the other there were warehouses with windows like black eyes. That's when I noticed something else. The child lock on the back door. The little switch. I saw it because a passing streetlight flashed across it for half a second. Child locks. The driver's side back seat. And probably the other side too. My throat tightened. This wasn't some random creep who decided to scare someone. This was planned. I forced myself to breathe slowly, like if I breathed right, I could trick my body into not panicking. "Look," I said, trying to steady my voice. "My Uber is behind us. You must have picked up the wrong person. Just turn around and—" He interrupted me, still calm. "I picked up who I wanted." Those words made my stomach drop so hard I thought I'd throw up. I pressed my forehead lightly to the cold glass of the window and stared at the fence. The fence kept going. No people. No lights. Just darkness and metal. My mind flashed through every story I'd ever heard. Every warning. Every headline. And then, another thought slipped in, something I didn't want to believe but couldn't ignore. He had my plate number. He had my pickup spot. He knew someone would be waiting there. Which meant he might have been watching the app. Or watching the people. Or both. I looked forward again. The driver's phone was still face down. Then I saw it. On the passenger seat. A second phone. It was on. Dim but lit. And the screen showed the Uber driver app. Not the rider app. The driver app. He wasn't Eli, but he was a driver. Maybe not currently working. Maybe banned. Maybe using a stolen account. He must have been sitting nearby, watching requests pop up. When he saw mine, alone, late, easy, he moved. But how did he match the plate? That part still makes me sick. Because if he had a plate that matched my real driver, then my real driver was in danger too. My chest felt tight. I tried to pull my phone into airplane mode and back out, like sometimes that fixes service. Nothing. The car slowed near a wide gate in the fence. The gate was open just a crack, like someone had left it that way on purpose. Beyond it, a lot. Gravel. Empty. A few rusted trucks lined up like bodies. He eased the car toward it. That's when I made a decision. I was going to get hurt either way. But I would rather get hurt in the street than disappear behind that fence. I waited until he slowed to turn. Then I shoved my thumb into the window switch and rolled it down halfway. Cold air blasted my face. I screamed. Not words. Just a raw, animal sound. The driver jerked, startled, his calm cracking for the first time. I screamed again and reached through the open window, waving my arms like a maniac, trying to catch attention from anyone anywhere. But the road was empty. He recovered fast. He reached back with one hand, trying to pull the window switch up, but he had to keep steering. That moment, his attention split, was my only chance. I grabbed the seatbelt and yanked it hard, not to buckle, but to create noise, to create chaos. Then I kicked the back of his seat with everything I had. The car swerved. He cursed under his breath, an ugly sound, and reached back again. In that split second, the car drifted close to the curb. I saw a metal signpost flash past the window. I slammed my shoulder forward and threw myself out. It wasn't graceful. I didn't roll, like in movies. I just fell. The pavement tore at my hands and knees. Pain exploded up my arm as my shoulder hit. My face slammed the ground and my teeth clicked hard. But I was out. I scrambled, half crawling, half running, away from the car. My palms were slick with blood. I could taste it too, metallic in my mouth. Behind me, the car screeched to a stop. I didn't look back. I ran toward the nearest light, which was still far. The world felt huge and empty. Then I heard the door open. Footsteps. Fast. He was coming. My lungs burned. My leg screamed with pain where I'd hit. My shoe felt like it was filling with blood. I finally looked back. He was out of the car now, standing under a dim streetlight. He wasn't rushing yet. He was watching me like he was deciding how much effort I was worth. Then he lifted his hand. And in it, I saw something dark and long. Not a gun. Something else. A tool. Like a tire iron. I tripped, and my heart shot into my throat. I caught myself on my hands, screaming from the pain. The footsteps started again, quicker. I forced myself up, limping, sprinting in bursts. I was sobbing now, not from sadness, but from pure terror, because I could feel him gaining. And then, a car turned the corner ahead. Headlights washed over me, blinding. I threw myself into the street, waving my arms like a lunatic. The car honked, slowed, and stopped. It was a small SUV. A woman leaned out the window, eyes wide. "Oh my God, are you okay?" I couldn't speak. I just pointed behind me. She looked. I looked too. The gray sedan was still there, driver's door open. But he was gone. Just gone. No footsteps, no shape in the shadows, nothing. Like he'd melted into the dark the moment another witness appeared. The woman got out, grabbed my shoulders, and guided me into her car. She locked the doors immediately. "You're bleeding," she said, voice shaking. "What happened?" "My Uber," I gasped. "It wasn't he." I grabbed my phone again. One bar of service flickered to life. I called 911 so fast my fingers fumbled. The operator asked where I was. I didn't even know. I was in an industrial area I'd never been to before. The woman drove until we found a lit intersection with a street sign, and she stayed with me until police arrived. When they questioned me, I told them everything: the plate match, the second phone, the fence lot, the child locks. They asked if I remembered his face. I did. Too well. They took me to the hospital to patch up my hands and check my shoulder. I got road rash and bruises that lasted weeks. The next day, the police called. They said they found the fence lot. It was empty. No gray sedan. No cameras in the area that worked. No fingerprints. And the gate I saw open? They found it locked with a chain. No sign it had been opened recently. Then they asked about the license plate again. Because they had tracked down the real Eli. He was a real Uber driver. And his gray Honda Accord was found that same night, parked in a grocery store lot across town. Empty. Unlocked. With his phone still inside. Eli was reported missing. They told me that as gently as they could, like it wasn't a knife twisting in my stomach. I asked if they ever found him. They didn't answer right away. Then the officer said, "We're still looking." It's been years. I still check the plate. I still ask the driver my name. I still sit behind the passenger seat so I can see hands and doors and mirrors. But sometimes, when a car pulls up and the driver is too quiet, when the phone isn't mounted, when the locks click a little too fast, I feel that same cold fear. Because I don't think that man was just some random predator. I think he was practicing. And I think he already knew what to do with people who didn't get out in time. This next story was sent in by a man named Andre. He drove for Uber for extra money after his day job. He said it happened during a weekend night shift, prime time for drunk riders, sloppy tips, and people who treated your car like a moving trash can. Andre told me he could handle all that. What he couldn't handle was what happened with one specific passenger. He said it started as a normal ride request at around 1:40 a.m. Pickup was a quiet neighborhood with big older houses, the kind with tall trees that make the street darker even under streetlights. The name on the request was Megan. No profile photo. One rider. Destination, a motel on the edge of town. Andre didn't like motel drop-offs late at night, but money was money, and the surge pricing was good. He accepted and drove over. When he arrived, the pickup pin was in front of a house that looked abandoned. Porch light off, windows dark. The yard was overgrown, like nobody had cut the grass in months. Andre pulled up and waited with his doors locked, like he always did until he confirmed the rider. A minute passed. Then another. He checked the app. Megan still hadn't shown as walking to pick up. Finally, he saw movement near the house. A figure stepped out from between two trees. At first, Andre thought it was a kid. The person was small, thin, and wearing a big hoodie that swallowed their shape. They walked slowly toward his car. And that's when Andre felt that little instinctive warning, like your body knows something before your brain does. The figure wasn't walking like someone heading home from a party. They were moving like someone who didn't want to be seen. When they reached the passenger side, they stopped, still half in shadow, and tugged the hoodie tighter. Andre rolled his window down an inch. "Hey," he said. "Uber for Megan?" The figure paused. Then, in a voice that didn't match the name, a low voice said, "Yeah." Andre hesitated. People order rides for friends all the time. Maybe Megan booked it for her boyfriend, or maybe the account name was fake. Still, something felt off. "Can you tell me the name on the ride?" Andre asked, like he'd been trained to do. The figure leaned closer. Andre could see part of their face now. Pale skin, dark eyes, no makeup, no warmth. "Megan," they said. But it sounded like they were repeating it, not owning it. Andre unlocked the door. The passenger opened it and got into the back seat, behind Andre. As soon as they sat down, Andre smelled something. Not alcohol. Not smoke. Not sweat. It was damp. Like wet clothes left in a pile. Andre glanced in the rearview mirror. The passenger had their head down. Hood up. Hands in their lap. Very still. "Headed to the motel on Route 9? Andre asked, trying for normal. The passenger didn't answer at first. Then they said, "Just drive." Andre started the trip. The first few minutes were quiet except for the car's heater blowing. Andre tried to shake the uneasy feeling. Some riders just didn't like small talk. But then the passenger spoke again. "Do you ever pick people up from here?" they asked. Andre glanced at the app's pickup address on his screen and nodded. "Sometimes. Not usually this exact street." "Do you know who lives in that house?" the passenger asked. Andre looked in his mirror. The passenger's face was angled slightly, like they were watching him. "I don't know," Andre said. The passenger hummed softly, like that answer pleased them. Then they asked, "Do you believe in bad places?" Andre gave a small laugh, the kind you do when you don't know what else to do. "Bad places?" "Places where things happened," the passenger said. "And they don't stop happening." Andre's fingers tightened on the steering wheel. He tried to lighten it. "You mean like haunted houses?" The passenger didn't laugh. They said, "Not haunted. Just hungry." Andre told me that word, hungry, made him look at his rearview mirror again. The passenger was smiling. But it wasn't a normal smile. It was flat, like their face didn't know how to do it properly. Andre's mouth went dry. He focused on driving. They hit a red light at a big intersection. Other cars around, late-night traffic, nothing scary. Andre's phone buzzed with a message. A friend texting him something stupid. Andre glanced down for half a second. And in that half second, the passenger leaned forward so fast that Andre felt breath on the back of his neck. "Don't look away," the passenger whispered. Andre's whole body jolted. He snapped his eyes back to the road. His heart was pounding. He forced a laugh again, weaker this time. "Hey, don't do that. You scared me." The passenger leaned back, slow. "I'm sorry," they said. but their voice didn't sound sorry. Andre told me he considered ending the ride right there. Pulling over, telling the person to get out. But he was at an intersection. Cars behind him. And he didn't want to start something with a weird stranger who was already acting wrong. So he kept driving. The route to the motel went through a long stretch of road with trees on both sides and no streetlights for a couple miles. Andre hated that stretch because it always felt isolated, like you were leaving the city and slipping into a place where help took longer. As soon as they entered that dark stretch, the passengers started talking again. "I'm not supposed to go there," they said. Andre swallowed. "The motel?" The passenger nodded, but Andre could barely see it. "I wasn't supposed to leave," they said. Andre's grip tightened. "Look, if you need to change the destination or—" "No," the passenger said quickly. "I have to go." Andre glanced in the rearview mirror. The passenger's hood had fallen back a little. Andre could see their hair, wet, stringy, clinging to their forehead like they'd been in rain. But it hadn't rained that night. And their skin looked wrong. Too pale. Too smooth. Like wax. Andre told me that's when he noticed the passengers' hands. They were wet too. Not sweaty wet. Soaking wet. The passenger rubbed their palms together slowly, and Andre could see water glistening on their fingers in the faint dashboard light. Are you okay?" Andre asked, voice shaky despite his effort. The passenger stared at him through the mirror. Then they said, "You're going to drop me off. And you're going to forget you saw me." Andre's mouth went dry again. He nodded, because nodding felt safer than arguing. The passenger leaned closer to the front again, not as sudden as before, but close enough that Andre could smell that damp odor stronger. It smelled like a basement. Like rot. The passenger whispered, "If you remember, I'll come back." Andre's throat tightened. "Okay," he said, barely audible. They drove in silence the rest of the way. When the motel sign finally appeared in the distance, flickering neon, half broken, Andre felt relief. Drop them off. Drive away. Done. He pulled into the motel lot. It was emptier than it should have been on a weekend night. 2 cars. 1 dim office light. Curtains drawn in most rooms. Andre stopped near the front office and put the car in park. "All right," he said quickly. "We're here." He looked in the rearview mirror. The passenger didn't move. They sat perfectly still, staring straight ahead. Andre waited. You can get out." Still nothing. Andre's stomach dropped. "Hey," he said louder. "Trip's over." The passenger finally moved, slowly turning their head toward Andre. And then Andre saw something that made his skin crawl. Their eyes weren't just dark. They looked flooded. Like they had water in them. Not tears. Like the whole surface of the eye was glossy, swollen, wrong. The passenger's mouth opened slightly. And a thin stream of water dripped from their lips. Andre froze. The passenger whispered, "I can't." Andre didn't understand. "You can't what?" "I can't open it," the passenger said, nodding toward the door. "Not by myself." Andre stared, confused and scared. "Open the door?" The passenger's face twitched, like irritation. "Yes," they said. "Open it." Andre's heart pounded. "No. I'm not." The passenger's voice sharpened. "Open it." Andre told me he felt pressure in the car, like the air grew heavier. The windows fogged slightly, even though the heater wasn't blasting. He reached for his door lock instinctively, checking it. Locked. The passenger leaned forward, and Andrei saw water dripping from their sleeves onto the seat, darkening the fabric. "Open it," the passenger said again, softer. "Please." Andrei swallowed hard. He didn't want to. Everything in him screamed not to. But he also felt trapped, and the idea of staying in that car with that thing behind him felt worse. So, shaking, he reached back over the center console and pressed the unlock button. The doors clicked open. Immediately, the passenger grabbed the handle and yanked the door wide. Cold night air rushed in. Andrei expected the passenger to climb out. Instead, the passenger sat there, door open, staring out into the motel lot like they were waiting for something. Andrei looked around. "Go," he whispered. "Just go." The passenger turned their heads slightly back toward Andrei. And they smiled again, that same flat, wrong smile. "Thank you," they said. Then they stepped out. Andrei watched them stand in the open doorway. Their clothes looked heavier now, soaked through. Water dripped steadily onto the pavement, forming a small puddle. The passenger turned toward the motel rooms. But they didn't walk like a normal person. They moved, like they were being pulled. Andrei told me it looked like someone invisible had a rope around their chest and was dragging them forward. The passenger crossed the lot without looking back and stopped in front of one particular room. Room 12. They stood there, facing the door, motionless. Andrei sat frozen. Then the door to room 12 opened. But Andrei didn't see anyone come out. He only saw darkness inside the room. The passenger stepped forward into that darkness. And the door closed behind them. Andrei didn't breathe until the latch clicked. He threw the car in drive and peeled out of the motel lot, tires crunching gravel. He didn't care if he looked crazy. He just wanted distance. He drove home on autopilot, hands trembling. When he got home, he parked and sat in the driveway with the engine off, staring at his steering wheel like he didn't recognize it. Then his phone buzzed. A notification. Trip issue reported. Andrei's stomach dropped. He opened it. The passenger account, Megan, had reported that Andrei failed to complete the trip safely. Andrei stared, furious and terrified. He opened the trip details to defend himself. But the trip history looked wrong. The drop-off location wasn't the motel. It was the pickup address. The abandoned house. According to the app, Andrei had never left the pickup. Andrei's blood ran cold. He checked his dashcam. He had one, pointing forward and into the cabin. He pulled the memory card and watched the footage right there in his car, phone glowing in the dark. At 1:40 a.m., he saw himself pull up to the house. He saw the passenger approach, hood up, get in. He heard the passenger say, "Just drive." He watched himself drive. The trees, the road, the motel sign. All of it. Then he watched the moment he arrived at the motel. He saw himself park. He heard himself say, "We're here." And then, this is the part Andrei said made him feel like he was going to pass out. The back seat camera angles showed the passenger clearly. Only, the passenger wasn't sitting behind him. The back seat was empty. No hoodie. No wet hair. No water dripping. Nothing. But Andrei heard the voice in the audio. Clear as day. "Open it." Andrei told me he replayed it 10 times, heart pounding, hoping he'd missed something. But the video never showed anyone in the back seat. Just Andrei, alone, unlocking the doors for nobody, and then staring into the rearview mirror like someone was there. Andre said he barely slept that night. The next day, he went back to the motel in daylight, thinking maybe he'd been tricked, maybe his dashcam had a glitch, maybe he was losing it. He asked the motel clerk about room 12. The clerk gave him a weird look. "Room 12 isn't rented," the clerk said. Andre frowned. "Last night someone went in there." The clerk shook his head. "That room's not usable." "Why not?" The clerk leaned closer, voice low. "Water damage. Burst pipe a while back. Mold. Smells awful." Andre's skin prickled. He asked if he could see it. The clerk refused at first, but Andre was persistent. Eventually the clerk sighed, grabbed a key, and walked him over. They stood in front of room 12. The paint around the frame was bubbled, warped from moisture. The air nearby smelled faintly of mildew. The clerk unlocked it. The door creaked open. Inside was darkness and dampness. The carpet was stained black in spots. The walls looked swollen. And the smell that hit Andre was exactly what he'd smelled in his car, basement rot. Andre stepped inside, heart pounding. Then he froze. In the middle of the room, the ceiling had collapsed. There was a hole, jagged, leading up into the ceiling space. And beneath it, on the soaked carpet, was a puddle. Not dried. Fresh. Like something had been dripping recently. Andre backed out fast. He asked the clerk if anyone had been in here. The clerk's face was pale. "No," he said quickly. "No one goes in there." Andre drove away and never took motel rides again. But he told me something else. He said sometimes, late at night, when he's driving alone, he'll smell that damp odor in his car. Even after cleaning it. Even after switching cars. And when he smells it, his phone will sometimes buzz with a ride request from a name he doesn't recognize. No profile photo. Pickup address, that abandoned house. And the destination always says the same thing. Route 9 Motel, Room 12. Andre never accepts it. But he says it keeps coming back. Like something out there is still waiting for someone to unlock the door again. The last story is from a woman named Tessa. She said she was a college student at the time, working late shifts at a small restaurant. She didn't have a car, so rideshare was her lifeline, especially after midnight when buses stopped running. She told me she'd taken hundreds of rides without anything truly scary happening. Until the night she got into a car, and realized the route home wasn't the route home anymore. It was around 2:15 a.m. when she clocked out. The restaurant was closing, chairs flipped on tables, the kitchen lights turned off one by one. Her manager walked her to the door because it was late and the neighborhood wasn't great. Tessa requested an Uber as she stood under the restaurant's awning, rubbing her hands together, watching her breath. The app matched her with a driver named Sanjay. 4.9 stars. Blue Toyota. It said he'd arrive in 3 minutes. When the car pulled up, it matched the description perfectly. Tessa checked the plate. Matched. She opened the back door and got in. "Hi," she said. "Hello," the driver said in a polite, quiet tone. "Tessa?" "Yes." "Good," he said. "Seatbelt, please." That felt normal. Responsible. Safe. She buckled. The car started moving. At first, everything seemed fine. The driver had soft music playing. The heater worked. The interior was clean. The driver didn't talk much, but he wasn't weird. Tessa relaxed a little. She leaned her head against the window and watched streetlights slide by. Then she noticed the driver wasn't following the usual route. Tessa wasn't one of those people who memorizes every street, but she knew the basics. She knew the main roads. She knew the turns. This wasn't it. She sat up and glanced at the front dash. The driver's phone was mounted. The map was on. The blue line showed the route. But the route was wrong. It wasn't taking her home. It was leading out of town. Tessa cleared her throat. I think the GPS is taking you the wrong way. The driver didn't look back. No, he said calmly. It is correct. Tessa's stomach tightened. I've taken this ride a lot. My apartment is near campus. This is going away from campus. He nodded slightly, as if acknowledging something simple. I know. Tessa felt a cold wash of fear. Can you take the usual way? The driver finally glanced at her in the rearview mirror. His eyes looked normal. His face looked normal. But his expression was blank. Like he was driving on autopilot. No, he said. Not tonight. Tessa's heart started to pound. What do you mean, not tonight? Please turn around. The driver's voice stayed calm, almost gentle. You are going to be late. Late? Late for what? Tessa fumbled with her phone, opening the app. She tried to hit the safety button, something like share trip, or call support. But the app froze. The screen went white. Then the Uber app crashed completely. She tried again. Crash. She tried to call her roommate. The call didn't go through. No service, her phone displayed. Tessa stared at that message, panic crawling up her throat. She'd had service outside the restaurant. She'd been scrolling while waiting. Now nothing. The driver turned onto a long road that got darker and darker. The city lights fell behind them until it felt like they were driving into a black tunnel. Tessa's voice shook. Stop the car. Let me out. The driver sighed quietly, like she was being difficult. You do not want to be out here, he said. I don't care, Tessa snapped. Stop. He didn't. Tessa reached for the door handle. Locked. She tried again. Locked. Her mouth went dry. Why are the doors locked? So you do not make a mistake, the driver said. Tessa's chest tightened. Stop. Stop right now. The driver's voice stayed soft. You are tired, he said. You will not remember this clearly. Tessa shook her head hard, like she could shake the words out. I'm awake. I know what's happening. Let me out. The driver turned the volume of the music down. Then he said something that made Tessa's blood run cold. You have taken this ride before. Tessa froze. No, I haven't. Yes, the driver said. Many times. Tessa's skin prickled. I don't know you. The driver's eyes met hers in the mirror. And for a second, Tessa said his eyes looked too dark. Not like pupils. Like holes. I know you, he said. Tessa's mind raced. Could he be someone from campus? Someone from the restaurant? Someone who'd watched her? Followed her? She forced herself to breathe. Please, she said, trying a different approach. If this is some joke, it's not funny. I'll pay extra. I'll tip. Just take me home. The driver nodded slightly. You always say that, he said. Tessa felt dizzy. What? The driver's voice stayed even. You always say you will tip. And you always say you will be careful. And then you forget. Tessa's hands were shaking now. She tried to open her phone camera to record. The camera app opened. But the screen was black. Not lens-covered black. Just black. Like there was nothing to show. She flipped to selfie mode. Black. Her throat tightened. What is happening? The driver didn't answer. They drove for what felt like forever. No other cars. No street lights. Just the headlights carving a small path through the dark. And then, ahead, a glow appeared, yellowish, weak. A building. A gas station. Tessa felt a surge of hope so strong she almost cried. Other people. Cameras. Lights. Safety. Pull in there, she said, voice desperate. Please, I need to stop. The driver slowed. For a second, Tessa thought he would ignore her again. But then he turned into the gas station lot. Tessa's heart jumped. Thank you? The car stopped near one of the pumps. The gas station looked wrong. The lights were on, but flickering, like they were struggling. The windows were dusty. The sign above the door was lit, but missing letters, so it just read, Gas T. Tessa stared. No other cars. No people. No sound. Even the air felt still, like the night was holding its breath. The driver put the car in park. You can go, he said. Tessa grabbed the handle again. Unlocked. She shoved the door open and stumbled out, almost falling. Cold air hit her face. She sprinted toward the gas station door, not looking back. The door was locked. She pulled harder. Locked. She knocked on the glass. No response. She pressed her face to the window, trying to see inside. The interior was dark. No cashier. No movement. But she could see shelves. Candy. Chips. And behind the counter, a layer of dust so thick it looked untouched for years. Tessa's stomach dropped. She turned slowly back toward the car. The driver was still sitting there, watching. From outside, his face looked calm, almost patient. Tessa ran back, breathless. It's closed, she said. Please just drive me home. The driver tilted his head slightly. You are wasting time, he said. Tessa's voice cracked. I don't care about time. I want to go home. The driver's eyes met hers. Then he said softly, You are not going home. Tessa felt a wave of panic so sharp it made her nauseous. She backed away from the car, looking around, searching for anything, another building, a road, a house, anything. Just darkness and trees. Then she saw something that made her blood run cold. Across the lot, near the edge where the light didn't reach, there was a payphone. An old one. The kind you almost never see anymore. Tessa didn't even think. She ran to it. She picked it up. It had a dial tone. Her hands shook as she dialed 911. The line rang. Once. Twice. Then a voice answered. But it wasn't a dispatcher. It was her. Her own voice, distorted, like a recording. Crying. Saying, Please, please, I won't do it again, just let me go. Tessa froze, phone pressed to her ear, heart pounding. The recording continued for a few seconds. Then it clicked off. Dial tone again. Tessa's whole body went numb. She slowly turned back toward the car. The driver was out now. standing beside the open driver door. In the flickering light, his shape looked taller than it should, like his shadow didn't match him. "Get in," he said, voice calm. Tessa backed away. "No." The driver took one step forward. The gas station lights flickered harder, buzzing loudly now, like a dying insect. "I said get in," the driver repeated. Tessa's mind screamed at her to run. So she ran. Not toward the road, she didn't know where it went. She ran behind the gas station, into the darkness, hoping to find another street, another building, anything. The cold air burned her lungs. Her shoes slapped dirt. Branches scratched her arms. And behind her, she heard nothing. No footsteps. No chasing. Which somehow felt worse. Because it meant he didn't need to hurry. Tessa ran until she hit a fence line. A chain-link fence, tall, with barbed wire on top. She grabbed it, trying to climb, but her hands slipped on the cold metal. She looked left and right. The fence kept going. She turned around, breath heaving. The gas station glow was far behind now, flickering like a candle about to die. And between her and that glow, she saw the driver. He wasn't running. He was walking. Slowly. Like he knew she couldn't get away. Tessa's knees went weak. She backed against the fence, trapped. "Please," she whispered. "Please, I don't know what you want." The driver stopped a few feet away. He tilted his head, as if listening to something she couldn't hear. Then he said quietly, "You promised." Tessa swallowed, tears burning. "Promised what?" The driver's face stayed calm. "You said you would not take rides alone," he said. Tessa stared, confused through terror. "You said you would not trust strangers," he continued. "You said you would not forget what happened." Tessa's voice shook. I don't know what you're talking about." The driver sighed, almost disappointed. Then he raised one hand and pointed past her, beyond the fence. Tessa turned her head, following his finger. On the other side of the fence was a ditch. And in that ditch, there was a car. A blue Toyota. Upside down. Crushed. Half buried in mud and weeds like it had been there a long time. Tessa's stomach flipped. She recognized the shape. Recognized the dented bumper sticker on the back. Because it was the same blue Toyota she'd been riding in. But it looked old. Rusted. Dead. Her breath caught. She looked back at the driver, shaking. He was still pointing. "Look closer," he said. Tessa's eyes moved back to the wreck. And through the broken window, she saw something pale. A hand? A human hand, still inside, still gripping what looked like a steering wheel that wasn't there anymore. And on that hand, a ring. A simple ring with a tiny scratch on it. Tessa knew that ring. Because she wore the exact same one. Her vision blurred. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no." The driver lowered his hand. His voice was soft, almost kind. "You fell asleep," he said. Tessa's body went numb. Memories came in flashes, like broken glass. A ride home. Her head heavy against the window. A sudden swerve. A loud crash. Cold water. Darkness. Hands trying to open a door that wouldn't open. Tessa slid down the fence, sobbing. The driver stood over her. "You keep calling," he said. "Night after night. You request the ride again. You do not remember. So I bring you back." Tessa shook her head violently. "That's impossible." The driver's expression didn't change. "You have been late many times," he said. "But it always ends the same," Tessa cried. "I want to go home." The driver nodded once. "Then wake up," he whispered. The gas station lights behind them flickered one last time, and went out. Everything went black. Tessa told me she woke up in a hospital. 2 days later. Her roommate crying at her bedside. Her parents furious and terrified. And the police asking questions she couldn't answer. Because according to them, Tessa had been found in a ditch, near a wrecked car, miles outside town, her body pinned in a twisted seatbelt, half submerged in icy water from a broken drainage pipe. They said it was a miracle she didn't drown. They said a passing driver saw her phone screen glowing in the dark and stopped. Tessa asked about the Uber driver, about Sanjay, about the blue Toyota. The police looked confused. They said no rideshare record existed for that night. No driver named Sanjay connected to her account. No trip history. No payment. Nothing. Tessa insisted she'd been in that car. She described his face, his voice. The police searched their database. No match. Then one officer said something that made Tessa feel sick. He said a blue Toyota had crashed in that exact area 3 years earlier. The driver had died. Name, Sanjay. Tessa stopped taking rides at night after that. But she told me the worst part is this. Sometimes, when she's exhausted, when she's on the edge of sleep, she swears she hears a calm voice in the dark, close to her ear, saying, "Seatbelt, please." And every time she hears it, she wakes up gasping, convinced she's still in the back seat, still trapped in a ride that never really ended. Which story scared you the most? Comment below and subscribe for more true horror stories. If you want to share your story with us, send us at belladarktales@gmail.com.